Hello, Frida. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm really excited to be doing this.
Likewise.
This is my first one ever.
This is my first one ever.
Hopefully there'll be many more.
Well, the funny thing is, as actors, we talk to other actors, but they write the words for us. This is a little different.
Yeah. So I have to admit, I binged watched all 18 episodes this week.
And are you okay?
I am emotionally distraught in a good way, though, because
Okay.
I've like stirred up emotions, and there was a lot that I could connect with all the different characters on This Is Us. And one of the things that really intrigued me, because I've been like watching you since the time you did Heroes and all your other work, your film work, your TV work, Gilmore Girls. What makes you choose a role like this?
I don't think it was so much me choosing it, it choosing me. You know, I'd come off of a movie called Devil's Gate, a little independent film, and I got home to Los Angeles, and I had 2 TV gigs that didn't work out. And so I had to recenter my thought around just being home, focus on life again. Don't worry about chasing the job, don't worry about any of that. Just focus on being a human being. And then this role pops up, and I read it, and I'm like, it's kind of, you know, art imitating life. I was just trying to be just a man existing, you know, as a man, and here's this man who's just trying to provide for his wife and his family and all of that, and it was so simple and beautiful that I thought, wow, I just love to do it. I'd love to be a part of it. And it was something that I walked in with Dan Fogelman and John Lacroix and Glenn Ficarra, producer directors, and apparently I wasn't who they were looking for. They wanted somebody completely different, and I walked in, you know, with my beard and my long hair and set my motorcycle helmet down, and they went, "Who's this guy?" And we just started having a conversation, and then we read the lines, and I think they just saw something different than someone who had practiced the words. And they picked me.
Jack, we talked about this.
I know. Look, just hear me out. We hire a guy, okay? He checks hospital records, sees what babies were born that day, talks to the families. You know, maybe he finds the people that gave him up.
And then what? And then what are you hoping happens?
I'm hoping he gets a better understanding of who he is.
Did you do the hair just for the role, or just that you happen to be in that place at that point in time and you walked in and it just...
It was one of those things, it's kind of like, as a younger actor, and I'm sure you probably have those actors you admire that came before us, and you know, I'd always heard stories about Robert De Niro growing his hair and his beard out in between jobs, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna grow my hair out, I'm gonna grow my beard out in between jobs. And I just kind of did, because you don't know if you're gonna be swinging a sword in ancient Egypt, or if you're gonna be playing a cop walking the streets in New York. So I just kind of let it all go, and it ended up working for the role because, of course, the character was in the past.
Right.
You know, so I guess you're in the right place at the right time as you're supposed to be.
Right, exactly. I can't agree with you more on just being sometimes and not chasing, because I think that's what I did for a very long time as well.
Yeah. Well, there's the pressures of that too. I mean,
absolutely.
I imagine it's like you do one like poignant hit, right? You play that girl in Slumdog Millionaire, and all of a sudden you're on the world stage and everybody wants you in that role, and you got to go. I mean, what was it like to come off of something like that and then find your footing in what would be a career trajectory?
I think it was, well, I have to say, Slumdog being my first film ever in life. Like, I had not done anything in front of the camera before that. I did not know what to expect with that film either, you know, and I don't know if you know of this, but the film was going straight to DVD.
Really? Had you seen other Danny Boyle films before?
Oh yeah, yeah. Growing up in India, like, you know, just was really exposed to world cinema and Trainspotting, Shallow Grave. They were all my favorite films. So first of all, getting the gig was like, whoa, did this really just happen?
I'm working with a guy that I admire, and oh my God, okay, don't mess it up,
and
don't mess it up.
And it's my first film, like how does that even work? Something that I had not planned, obviously. You know, it just, I went to an open casting call, auditioned for 6 months, and had to beat out so many other hopefuls at that point in time, which is why I have like so much respect for the audition process as well, and the people who audition you, casting directors included. And the next thing you know, the film is in the awards race, winning Oscars. And
nominated for a BAFTA and all of that.
Oh God, yeah. And then I did not know where to go from there. Because you pretty much start on the highest high that you can possibly have.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 23. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of pressure on what am I going to do next. The other thing was there were not a lot of people that I saw who looked like me in film and television.
Yeah.
So there was not a real role model. The role models I had were pretty much anybody and everybody who I admired, you know, from like Javier Bardem to Salma Hayek,
Yeah.
anyone and everyone that I absolutely enjoyed watching. So you feel really lost at that point in time. So I did all that chasing stuff
Yeah.
that you talked about for a very, very long time. And it took tons of rejection, facing rejection, understanding what rejection really feels like
Yeah.
and it's nothing personal, it's something that someone else can't see
They
at
just
that point
don't
in
see it.
time, but you take it personally
Yeah.
at that point.
Totally. But then you meet other filmmakers that are, you go through the audition process and they see the word, they hear the words possibly they wrote or someone else wrote, but then it turns into, no, they strip that away and they just see something
Yes.
real and raw and connective, and that you're doing that is unlike anything anyone else can do.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what you look like, your hair being brown or the dress you're wearing, nothing. They don't
Yeah.
see that. They see the human aspect of what you're doing as an
And
actor.
that was John Ridley for me.
Yeah.
That was John Ridley.
Show it.
By behaving like criminals?
They're the criminals. They fit us up, they killed Julian, and there's nothing we can do. We need a soldier who can take the fight to the
Look,
field.
we
And
can't
Dahari knows
fight
about the
anything
police,
from
but
prison.
I'm not afraid of prison, are you?
It took me, well, I've been in the industry for about 8.5, 9 years now, so it's not a very long time, but long enough to know what the ups and
Sure.
downs feel like. And
Yeah.
it took 2.5 years of being silent, of not working, of pretty much driving myself to the point of high anxiety, feeling absolutely dejected, thinking this is over. I started
Yeah.
on that high and now it's
Yeah.
just over. And not because there weren't roles, but there weren't roles that I felt that were respectful of me and
Yeah.
what the talent that I bring and what I could possibly give. Also, with a film as big as Slumdog Millionaire, I got typecast as a sunshine girl for the longest time.
Sure.
It was so hard for people to see me as anything else
Yeah.
but someone who gave light and life and was always happy
Yeah.
and smiling and helping, and
Yeah. And then you want to play something darker and different. It's like,
which I know exists in me, which
Yeah.
I know exists in you, which I know
Yeah.
exists in everybody.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I am totally accepting of it, but other people were not, and they couldn't see it. So it took John Ridley to come back into my life and take me down a whole new different journey, one that I'd never been on and one that I would want to do over and over again
Yeah.
with someone like him.
Would you say then that, playing a role like in Gorilla,
Yeah.
it being a politically charged show, a racially charged show, does that impact you as a human being outside to where
Oh,
you want to
absolutely.
do more, you want to flip the way you look at life? Like I know This Is Us absolutely shifts the perspective dial just about 5 degrees in one direction to where you go, I can't unfeel what I've felt.
Yeah.
I can't unsee what I've seen. Now I need to approach life differently.
I think it definitely does. In many ways, when John met me, I think he already saw that in me. It always existed. It always was there. I tell this very funny story to everybody, right, which I tell John. I'll tell
me
you
the funny
as
story.
well.
I know, I want to hear the funny story. Because there's fun in Hollywood. Yeah. There is. We do laugh. We don't make everyone cry all the time.
That is so true, and definitely not, definitely not today.
Yeah.
8th grade, I was, always someone who tried to lead the pack, and
Yeah.
I loved kind of being the leader in any which way I could. And during library class, I noticed that the librarian had blocked off a certain section of Judy Blume's books
Okay.
for the 8th grade.
Got it.
But they were available to the grade before and the grade after. So I was like, and I've read Judy Blume, and she's a perfectly fine author to be reading in the 8th grade. So why have you blocked them out? Like, why have you written no 8th grade over here? I have no idea why he did that. And he was like, I don't know, but you can't touch them. And I was like, oh, well, I see. So I go back to the classroom and I tell the entire class, we're actually not going to library class today. because we can't read a section,
Yeah.
a book from the same author that I've been reading, since the 6th grade,
Sure.
and I don't understand why. And there's no explanation. If there were an explanation, I probably would have argued it out or listened. But there's no explanation at all. So the entire class bunked off. No one went. And the principal came up to the classroom and she was like, so what's happening? The librarian is furious. And I go, well, he should be, because this is what he did and this is what I did in protest.
Yeah.
And she smiled and she said, well, next time you can come and talk to me about it, but I kind of admire it.
Did you ever find out why he blocked those books?
No. He had no rhyme or reason. I think it's just a thing of power and authority.
Yeah.
And, you know, probably him externalizing his own insecurities that I probably have this going on in my life, but I'm just going to, you know, project it onto the 8th grade.
Which is like unfortunate. I mean, you know, they're this tall and he's that big and whatever. And it's like, why be a bully? Why
Exactly.
be a
And that's when I knew that I always had the fighter in me. And John and I were talking about all these wonderful childhood stories and things that I already did. And he goes, I think somewhere deep down he knew he had found jazz, but they made me wait for about a whole 3 months.
Oh, really?
And they made me put myself on tape, which I'm actually very open and welcoming of the whole audition process. It helps me as well.
Yeah, because you get to
find my
you
character.
find the role, as opposed to just saying like, all right, it's offered, and then it's kind of on your time as like, as an actor, like you want to show them that you can do this.
Absolutely.
You know,
But
be
just-
willing to work.
Absolutely.
Collaborate.
And just like you, I don't think they had me in mind at all. So I had to earn the role, earn the project, and work my way into it. And it's been the best gift ever.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you think that leadership side of, you know, marching out of library class in the 8th grade helps when you're on a set to kind of rally the troops and rally the crews and keep them going?
Definitely does.
I mean-
I think my crew will be, my entire cast actually will be able to tell you that I protested against craft services.
Against craft services.
and
Okay, got it,
and
got
the
it.
kind and the quality.
Sure.
and changed catering about 2 times.
So like, dude, this tomato's bad. Toss that tomato out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible because I kind of feel like we went from good to like really, really bad when catering changed, and then towards the end we got like this fantastic catering.
Maybe they wanted you to feel the struggle.
And I think they did, and not being able to eat properly on set was actually
yeah.
it helped. It completely informed the characters, and we were
Yeah.
shooting like crazy long hours as well.
Because then that hunger turns into hunger for character, turns into hunger for story, and you just use it.
Totally
I don't know,
method.
I'm always that whole like, use life, use what you can to
Absolutely.
actually build your character, to build everything. Use that life experience like a student of life. so to
Yeah,
say.
and being in the moment, which I feel a lot of us forget because we're thinking about the words we have to say next or what happened before.
Yeah.
But sometimes just in the moment, you find this thing that you wouldn't find if you were distracted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're so right about just being, and I think that's been the entire process of this series as well, because we were filming at a time where Brexit had just happened with Guerrilla. Filming when Brexit just happened and the US elections were ongoing, the campaigning, and it was really troubled times, people not knowing which direction they would go in, and we just decided to use that angst every day on set and channel it into our characters.
It's the same. We do the same thing on This Is Us. I mean, race, gender, socioeconomic, all those are issues in life that just kind of happen and circle around us, and we're in the middle of it, and you tell the stories of it, and you try to inspire good and hope, just like with your show, you inspire thought, and you don't have to abide by exactly what you're being told to abide by. You just get to, I don't know, it's nice when you get to take that life and plug it into your art and hopefully, sometimes maybe make a revolution, but also just change how people view family structure or relating to a stranger or anything.
Are you willing to raise this young boy into a strong man?
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to push him to be the best man in the world he can be?
Yes.
So I'm curious to know, when did you know that acting is what you were going to do and you wanted to be an actor?
When I was a kid. When I was a kid, I kind of knew I wanted to be a performer. My older sisters were always into the arts. One is a photographer, one was an artist. And for some reason, I just gravitated toward the stage. Right. And we had this little living room that stepped down into a family room in my home, my childhood home, and it had this just, archway. And it had these little, kind of nooks right here, so it was the perfect stage.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I'd put on these plays and whatnot and just like make up words and everything for my family. And then I remember watching like the Academy Awards or something when I was a kid, and I think it might have been Whoopi Goldberg was talking about, she would talk to all those kids at home. At the very end of the whole telecast, she talked to all the kids at home, and one day you'll be up here. And so in my mind, I saw these great actors, and I thought, I'm gonna win an Academy Award, because I want to be on that stage, because I want to entertain people. It's not about the statue, it's about entertaining.
Yeah.
And so that kind of like catapulted me in that direction. And then I think it was just, a moment where, you know, I could have gone into the military or I could have gone into medicine, but for some reason, like I just had this pebble constantly rolling around my brain toward the arts, toward acting, toward performing. And then it kind of shifted again until, like, you know, I studied at a conservatory, ACT in San Francisco, then I went to school at UCLA, all while concurrently trying to get my foot in the door in Hollywood. And then work took over school, and I dropped out, and I just started applying life to whatever role I was playing, and it just, you know, work begat work, and now 22 years in, I'm like,
wow.
I feel like I'm just now starting the real work. Like 22 years felt like prep work, and now it's like, oh, the real work happens.
Yeah.
You know,
I
the real work.
completely understand that.
Just it shifts over and it changes, and you know, I feel more connected to the men that I play. Hopefully, you know, less connected to the bad guys. But now, you know, the current guy, Jack, he's a good man, and I feel like, okay, I'm gonna see where this goes.
I kind of feel it's a cycle, because in 10 years from now,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a whole new different experience, and
Yeah.
the 22 years that you had of chasing and of finding,
Sure.
I think it's so important, right?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't trade that feeling, sometimes being lost, I wouldn't trade that feeling for
Yeah.
anything in the world, because I feel that it helps you arrive at the truth as well.
Yeah.
And of what do you really want to do, and start feeling connected, like you just said.
Well, and even like me, it's like one of those things where I love to just like wander. If I'm filming in a city that I don't know, grab my camera and just wander and be lost.
Yeah.
And I think you can do that as an actor. And then when you're in a scene, it's like you're working, then you find your way to the end of a scene and a moment, and you have a goal, and you get there. And then and then you get to like look at your scene partners and go, wow, that was pretty awesome. Yeah. That was pretty amazing. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's
you know?
amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I kind of have to say that you and I have so much in common already in terms of, you know, when we knew that there was, like you said, the pebble rolling around in your brain, in your head, that you knew that this is what you wanted to do. And it's kind of the exact same for me, but I didn't go to acting school because there wasn't access to, you know, an acting school that I really wanted to go to back home in India. But I was just it was definitely the Academy Awards, and, you know, also Bollywood, also growing up in India, and the Indian film industry, I wouldn't use the word Bollywood, it's massive.
It's massive.
And the art that I was exposed to as a child, with my dad specifically actually showing me films from like the 70s and 80s, Indian films in the 70s and 80s.
What were some of your favorites?
A lot of them had this wonderful, wonderful actress who's passed away. Her name is Smita Patil. And she played these really strong female characters, but they were flawed, the kind of characters I like. I don't want to see, you know, no offense to Mother Teresa, but I don't want to see a Mother Teresa in a film. You know, the Mother Teresa that the world knows, rather. Who knows what her personal life was all about. But I kind of was so drawn to that, and I kind of was drawn to the complexities and the flaws that made her somewhat, in my mind, perfect. And so
the imperfections are the perfections.
Yeah. And I kind of knew very, very early on that that's what I wanted to do, and I would, you know, give my speeches, my winning speeches at home in front of the mirror, get caught red-handed by my, you know, have a shampoo bottle or a hairbrush as my award.
Amazing. No, I know to get you for your birthday, I'm just going to paint a shampue bottle gold and be like, here you go, Frida.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday, you won.
Thank you, October 18th.
Perfect.
Just letting you know.
Got it.
And I think it was up until the time that I watched the movie Monster, Charlize Theron. That's when I knew that that's what I wanted to do for a living, and not just something that I wanted to chase as a passion. Still passion, but now I want to make a living out of it.
It's funny, you say Charlize Theron and Monster. Mine, when I was 12 years old, I saw the movie Die Hard with Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman. And I saw this action, fun movie, but people were crying, and there was a heart, and there was something about it that it was just, you're just eating your popcorn, and you walk out, and you go, I want to see that again. That was so great. And I realized right there, I'm like, it's that concrete evidence of, I want to do that.
That's it.
I want to be an actor.
That seals the deal for you.
Yeah. And going back to what you're saying, you know, the older you get, your roles evolve.
Yeah.
So having that ability to not just be the sunshine girl all the time, and choosing different roles like Jasmine and Jazz in Gorilla.
She could be Jasmine.
Jazz. You get a chance to show people multiple sides. You know, which has always been an important thing on my side. Is like, change your appearance. Like, let the character live and breathe.
Yeah.
And then me as a human being just kind of like recedes while the cameras are going, and then it's just the character that lives on camera.
Did you have that problem as well? Because I kind of feel like you know, I've been around for a very long time, and I'm sure everyone has their own sets of issues that they face with people, and everybody has them, by the way. So I'm sure that, you know, we're no exception to the rule, but everybody has that struggle where people don't see them for what they want to give. And what was yours?
Probably around the time of Heroes, you know. I was playing a character who, you know, was cute with a golden heart, yet he'd been in this like wild world anyhow. Beyond that, and because it was such a great global impact, the show.
In India as well, very popular in India.
Yeah, I mean, it was global, you know, and nobody could not see me as Peter Petrelli. And I remember for 1 calendar year, from the second the show was canceled until all the way like a year later, I didn't get a job. I couldn't get arrested. I just couldn't get a job. And it was maybe the 3rd time in my career where I thought to myself, I need to do something different. Because if I'm relying on other people to, you know, have money to pay bills and feed myself and clothe myself, what am I doing?
Right.
You know, because I couldn't get a job. Which, you know, segues into like other producing stuff. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, I can't be defined by the roles that I play.
Right.
I've got to go in, do my job, leave everything on the set, and then walk away from it. And whatever happens, happens. But beyond that, the roles that I'm pulled in by, I'm constantly changing, constantly evolving. You know, Jack is going to look different than Peter's is going to look different than any other role that I've played, physically and as well as character and walk and movement. You know, there's so much to it.
I see it. I grew up watching Heroes, and it was one of my favorite shows with my sister, and I loved it. And when I started watching This Is Us, the beginning of this week, there was a moment where I almost go, oh my God, I don't recognize him. I mean, I recognize him, but I don't recognize him. There's something so different. There is a different person in there. It's the same person, but it's a different part of this person that I'm seeing for the first time. And it made me feel really, really happy, because those are the kind of transformations that people really want to watch in film and television. And I kind of also feel like with like social media and Instagram and the exposure from the media as well, sometimes it's so hard for people to see that different because we are so overexposed. But this came as a surprise. So
Thank you.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the show, and I can't wait for it. And congratulations on 2 and 3 being renewed.
Thank you.
Amazing.
I need your help. We're going to liberate a political prisoner.
You're going to bust a convict out of prison. This is a really foolish idea.
They're changing the laws on us. One day, people are going to ask us what we did. I'm not going to tell them I sat on a fence.
Was working with John Ridley, I mean, the second you guys met, just a connection was made, and the conversation started happening to inform the work and then just life. And is he one of those guys for you that you think to yourself, I'm gonna know him the rest of my life now?
So John Ridley's ruined my life. Let me start with that. He's ruined my life to the point that now every time I read a script, I am looking for depth that John Ridley gave me for the first time in 8 years.
Totally understand. Dan Fogelman, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John Ridley. And I kind of when I don't find it, I get really frustrated. And this happened right after, obviously, we finished filming Gorilla. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to ever do anything else again without complaining? It was so hard. So I spoke to John, and I was like, John, I think I might just want you to write all my action films, my romantic comedies, my period dramas, some of the films that I'm producing. I think I want you to write everything for me, because that's how much you gave me. Again, things are so impermanent in life, so it's good to not hold on to things so very dearly and then just like let go and move on. But I think he gave me new life, and for that I'm so very grateful. We met when the pilot episode was just out, and just a few agents had access to the script, and my manager read the script, and he goes, Frida, I think you want to stop everything right now and read this. And I remember flying from New York to Miami, and I read it on the flight, and I go, the day I get back to LA, you're setting up a meeting, because I really have to meet this man. And not because of what his brilliant writing, but because I didn't believe what he wrote in the script in terms of, did this really happen?
Yeah.
I have no idea. This part of history was just missed by me, and the whole world probably. And so I actually wanted to verify the authenticity of what was written as well. So more out of like the history buff mind that I ended up meeting him. He was a little surprised, because this is like very early days. We're not even meeting actors, and you're the first person I'm meeting on this entire project.
Yeah.
And we stayed connected through that. And well, I did the audition, and once we started filming, he is so hands-on and so detailed and so meticulous. And just as much as I would love to work with Dan, I hope you get to work with John as well, because there's something about him when he talks. He just connects with you. He's not distracted. He is not thinking about anything else. By the way, meanwhile, he is shooting American Crime, filming American Crime, making his documentary, and filming Gorilla at the same time.
That's
so
Dan
no
Fogelman.
idea how he did that.
Yeah, it's Dan Fogelman too. I mean, he had pitch at the same time as we were doing This Is Us, and then all of his other development, and he literally had to step right off of our show to go direct a movie in New York and Spain. And I know the second he's done with that, he comes right back to work. And I mean, he is one of those guys that you read his words on a page, and you've seen his movies and you've seen his shows, and you go and you admire the poetry in the words, and you think about, as an actor, the words that you have to say and the honor it is to speak someone's beautiful words. And I remember the first time I read This Is Us, it was something that I read it first, and I felt like I already had these words in my mind and in my heart, because they were so poetic, and just the rhythm and the cadence of who Jack was made sense to me. So you get excited about being on a set like that, and you get excited about being in that role. And then I remember going in a meeting with Fogelman and John Requa and Glenn Ficarra, and just seeing Dan sitting in the back of the room, just smiling, and he, this auteur in a way, like with his words, and so poetic and beautiful. He was sitting there smiling like a little boy, and he had this sweet quality about him. And I think that informs his work, where he has this enthusiasm about the way he works, but also then there are these beautiful words, and mixed in with this life experience of being a 40-year-old man who's been through a lot in life and experienced life and has seen the darker side as well as the light side. And it's one of those people you want to be around. And same thing. It's like, hey man, whatever you're doing, I'm in. I'll show up and make sandwiches on set for you. I'll hold a boom mic. I'll run the camera. Whatever
I just
you
want to
want.
be around you.
I just want to be around it.
Want to be around your light.
Yeah.
We called it the NAR, no acting required job.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
The script is so good.
Yeah.
And it's so the words that we probably sometimes think of, don't know how to articulate.
Yeah.
And someone just comes in, writes them beautifully, and then it's a gift.
Yeah.
You're just given this gift where you really don't have to do a lot, because a lot is already given to you. You just have to let it simmer and let it really, really go deep down into your gut.